Okay, so for context, so for a small part of this video, I actually technically already explained it in this previous video I made. So you can watch that first for, some context when I get to the middle of this. But today, I'll be talking about the downfall of School of Chaos. So first, we have to go to the start of 2012 in August. This is when School of Chaos was made, but we have to go just a little bit farther back. And by that, I mean another game VNL Entertainment made, being Bad Nerd. Bad Nerd was another game VNL Entertainment made, and he made it in 2012 also, School of Chaos, except it was made about 2 or 3 months earlier, in July. It's basically like School of Chaos, but it's stuck in 2012, and it actually has a story going along. The story being, you're playing as Twerp, the one that's showing on screen right now, and he gets his comic books taken, and then he has to go on this whole adventure just to get them back, and you just, fight for enemies. There is online in this game, but people don't really play it that much, because, well, it's old, and people don't know about it. And this is basically just the predecessor to School of Chaos, since, it's the same school, has the same controls, and it's basically that. There is even some, I guess, Easter eggs or facts about School of Chaos. Basically, if you ever wonder what the school is called, it was actually called VNL Elementary, since all the characters in the game are second graders. It even says this in one of the menus. But we'll come back to Bad Nerd later when I talk about City of Chaos, which is another game he made. But now onto School of Chaos. So then comes the question of why people actually like School of Chaos. I'm going to say this from my perspective. I only really like it because, well, A, it has very easy controls, just being pressing A either 1, 2, 3 times, or holding B to block and holding B to run. They're just pretty simple controls to understand. And leveling up is also pretty simple, since all you have to do is just get a certain amount of tags, and then you level up, or you just press the use button. And then in other players' perspectives, it's because the game's nostalgia. Well, if you look at it now in 2023, the nostalgia factor is probably the only reason why, most of us play the game. But then eventually people stopped, and that's where that video comes in that I talked about earlier. But also another fact about School of Chaos, it was one of the MMORPG games, or RPG. It was one of the few that had a bunch of downloads, being over 10 million, at least by 2019, which, for what the game looks like, I thought that was a lot, since if you compare a game to Bad Nerd, which still, it was never really updated, so it still looks like it was made in 2012, and you compare that to School of Chaos doesn't really look so good, even in 2020. And when we get to City of Chaos doesn't really look any better. It sort of does. It has shadows to it, but that's really the only difference, since the game still looks, just as bad as School of Chaos. Maybe even a little bit worse when you actually get into the city. But now into the history of School of Chaos. From 2012 to 2019, it was going pretty strong, since it was just, a simple fighting game, with updates being added, well, holiday yearly. I'm not really sure how you put that. But each holiday being like February, New Year's, St. Patrick's Day, Easter, summertime, back to school, October or Halloween time, November or Thanksgiving, if you want to call it. It has 2 names. And December. All of those had different items for them each time they came around, which was probably from 2015, or actually 2013, to 2023. I used to care a lot about this, but then when the games got merged, they kind of got a little bit bland looking, at least to me. I'm not really sure how to explain it. Another feature added was housing. So basically, somewhere in 2016, VNL added the way to buy houses. There's a few of them, being maybe 10 or 11 of them, and you can just edit them in different ways and trade houses with other players, which is pretty cool. But later on, it was removed in City of Chaos. You could buy it, but not with VIPs. It costs actual money. So, yeah. And speaking of VIPs, that was also a currency. So VIPs, lunch money, and tags are a currency. Tags were to level up, VIPs were to buy stuff in the marketplace or buy a toy smuggler, and then lunch money was just to buy stuff that cost, well, lunch money. But later on in 2020, the downfall happens with So basically, this whole started with a poll in 2020, with VNL asking if he wanted to merge the games, and asking the players. Majority of them said yes, including me. And then, well, basically like a few weeks later, or a few months later, maybe, the games got merged, and it wasn't really received that well. The reason for that being, City of Chaos was like still in progress. Like, when you compare it to School of Chaos was already complete. Really, the only update to your gang was just, new armored or weapon items for the seasons. That was really it. But City of Chaos was still getting updated and still, in the works, so still in beta, basically. And when the games were merged, it was, well, received terribly just because of it was still being worked on. But a few days after, VNL made a different version of School of Chaos that was still in its classic form, so people could play that. But then when 2023 hit, the hacks started happening, so then School of Chaos Classic died, and then everybody had to return to City of Chaos. One of the bad features of City of Chaos was its, fighting system. At first, it was very confusing. You had to do combos with A and B. But then, they changed it up eventually. You can still buy it, but it's not used by anybody. Or at least that I know. But then another one was Nerd Rage. Now, Nerd Rage has been in School of Chaos since, basically the start. Well, at least 2 years after, in 2014. Basically, how it goes is, you counter the opponent with an uppercut, and then this arrow appears, and you just have to swipe it as fast as you can, faster than the other enemy. They changed this in City of Chaos, actually twice. For the first time they bring it back, it was just like the School of Chaos version, to just put it in City of Chaos. But then it was removed for about a year, and then VNL re-added it in 2021 as a rage move. And rage moves are very annoying for a couple of reasons. There's only 2 of them since all the rest were removed. But how Nerd Rage would go is that you uppercut them like you normally would, but you had to press the rage move button. And then there's some counter at the bottom, but it wasn't really working as well as it used to, so it was removed, along with 8 other rage moves. But the other rage moves were just Deadly Swings and Mad Fist, which just put your damage up a little. And they're unblockable, so, that's what made them very annoying. And overall, I just didn't like City of Chaos. The only ups it had was it had a way larger map. It had some locations, even though most of them have question marks on the buildings. Those are just placeholders, but they haven't been edited since like 2018, since the game has been worked on. But since that, downfall, City of Chaos only has 1 million downloads. I mean, School of Chaos is a decade old, 11 years old, while City of Chaos is only about 6 or 7 years old, but still only got, over 1 million. That's still a good amount of downloads, but it's not as good as School of Chaos. So you could tell that a downfall happened. But that was my take on a downfall of School of Chaos, and I guess technically City of Chaos too. Oh yeah, and I forgot this small fact, but there was another positive to City of Chaos. It actually had a storyline that added on from Bad Nerd, if you remember that from earlier. But that's really all. So that was my take on the downfall of School of Chaos.